are going to start soon. I'm going to be constant to make for all those that are taking part in the workshops this afternoon. The rooms have been changed. So here is the list of the new rooms. All those working on the répertoire d'iconographie néroïtique, that is this group about narrative iconography, the new room is Perrault. P-E-R-R-O-T. For those working on the 15th dynasty and narrative, it's Ingres, like the famous painter.
This one,
yeah. For prehistory, it will be in room Peresque, P-E-R-T-E-I-S-C. For Islam, it will be in Colbert room, Colbert.
This is the auditorium downstairs.
Sorry? Well, don't ask me where. It's not written on the paper. And finally, for pottery, ceramic, that will be in Vasari room. So now we should have listened to Mrs. Dafa'alla for a speech about the Nubian identity. I will tell you exactly the title, but in fact she is not here, and in absentia, she will be replaced by Mr. Omar A. Omar. So the title of this presentation is a call for avoiding using the adjective Nubian to designate cultures and inhabitants of Nubia during the period from the beginning, quoting mark, question mark, until 550 AD. Thank you. You've got 15 minutes.
Assalamu alaikum. I would like to thank everybody here for stopping by for this presentation. It's going to be a little bit different presentation, as I'm not the original presenter here. Samia, Professor Samia Dafa'alla, she wouldn't be able to make it. Unfortunately, she applied for this a little bit late, and she couldn't make it. So I was attending the conference, and she asked me if I can present on her behalf. It's an honor for me. I'm portraying her idea. Just I had to say this very clearly from the very beginning. This is her call, this is her presentation. My name is Omar Al-Haj Omar. I'm a petroleum engineer, but I'm also interested in ancient Sudanese history. I'm a researcher. I spend a lot of time researching Sudanese ancient history. So let me start with the title of this presentation. It's a call to avoid, we corrected the title a little bit. It's a call to avoid using the adjective Nubian to designate cultures and inhabitants of ancient Nubia prior to 550 AD. This call is to put things into perspective, to put things in the right track of the terminology used here. Most scientists and scholars and researchers are really confused about terminologies when it comes to Sudan. And this has to stop. Has to stop right now, right away. I mean, we are rewriting our own history from now on. Thank you guys for everything you're doing for us, but it's time for Sudanese to take over. And I'm here to call it very loud and clear. We are ready. The first question, so this presentation is going to be a little bit interactive, and I would like to ask the audience a question here. When it comes to ancient Sudanese history, what would you like to call the inhabitant of that region? Ethiopian, Nubian, Sudanese?
You want me? Sudanese never existed 300 years ago. It's a name given by the Turks.
That was not an option here, sir.
That is given to the Turks.
Only 3 options, pick one. Well, what do you think, sir? Nubian? Nubian, okay. Anybody else? Would say anything else?
I'd say that I would choose Sudanese, and very often I spoke of the Sudanese pharaohs instead of the Kushite pharaohs.
And we do appreciate that, Dr. Riley.
Yeah, but still it's true that could be better, maybe.
Well, the 3 terminologies already being used.
The reason why people normally say, they say it's not the right, it's anachronistic. But Egyptian is anachronistic also.
Exactly.
You can call them themselves Egyptian.
Yes. Well, why would you call the Egyptian right now Egyptian while not Kemites? Anyway, so the 3 terminologies being used in literature since ancient days. Scholars being confused in it. Sometimes they call it Sudanese, sometimes Ethiopian, sometimes Kushite, sometimes Nubian. So that was the first question. Let me go for the second question here. What is the, if somebody asks what is the geographical term of Nubia, what is the boundaries of Nubia? Where is Nubia? Is it south of Aswan to Deba? Is it, this is the map of Nubia where we have in all the literature. So is it south of Aswan all the way to Deba? Or is south of Aswan all the way to Merowe? Or south of Aswan all the way to Khartoum? Or north of Aswan all the way to Khartoum?
Aswan to Khartoum?
Oh, to Khartoum? Yeah. That's what actually no, not very precise.
Aswan to Sinnar.
To Sinnar, okay, that's another option. So there is
it depends on the period, actually.
Has an effect?
Yeah.
Correct. The geographical term will extend based on a period. So right now, some people say it's just a region along the Nile. Well, some people, like we debated right now, everybody's coming up with his own answer. The third is it south of Aswan to Daba and to Merowe or to Khartoum. It's just a debate, endless debate. It depends on the period.
Yes.
Why is it not depends on the period when it comes to Egypt? Why? Why Nubia? Let's discuss the
also
first.
depends on, I mean, like the size of the current nation state is not relative to the size of the Pharaonic Empire. Like, of course, it depends also in terms of Egypt.
It's because Egyptian, the word Egyptian was already used by Greek, so it was still in antiquity. And Nubia is in Arabic, is used for less than 100 years. And it appears in the Middle Ages. It was Dar al-Nuba, and Dar al-Nuba was stopping at the Fifth Cataract.
And that's correct, Dr. Riley. Appreciate that input. Let's discuss the first adjective, Ethiopian. The Ethiopian name or the terminology been given to Nubia by the Greeks, ancient Greeks, historians. And ancient Egyptian, they called it Kush. They called the same region Kush.
Yeah.
But Ethiopian itself in Greek, it means the burnt faces. That's literally the translation of that word. It all appeared in the 19th and the 20th centuries. George Reisner was the first one to insist to use the term Ethiopia in most of his literatures. But later on, the term Ethiopia vanished from the literature due to Dunham. Dunham, he came in and said, oh no more Ethiopia, we're gonna call it Kush. And the following table here right now, it will show you a lot of literature use the terminology or the term Ethiopia in their books. And there are big scholars, Lepsis, Ehrman, Reisner in 3 books, John Gastrang, all one names use the name terminology Ethiopia.
It's coming from the Bible, for the translation of the Bible from Hebrew in Greek. They translate Kush, Kash in Ethiopia.
When it comes to the correct pronunciation, I don't think anybody can beat Dr. Riley. He already put a lot of effort in the translation, whether it's Kush or Kush or Kash or Kas. Whatever it is the same region.
Yes.
Yes. So, secondly, let's discuss quickly the adjective Nubian. The earliest forms of the name Nubian appear in Meroitic and Greek literatures. And then the Nubian word, according to Herodotus, let me put two lines on this statement. Nubians were immigrant groups which entered the Nile Valley from Darfur and Kordofan in the 1st century AD. And this is according to one source. I just wanted to put it there. Very clear, it's just one source that says that. Nubia denote land or country which appeared first in Arabic historical literature from 640 AD. 640, and these are facts. And these here are a table of all the books and works that really use the term Nubia, and they're very famous. I mean, Wallace and Budge, Emery, William Adams, and Bonnet and O'Connor. They all use the term Nubia. Now we have two types of scholars. Some of them using Ethiopia, and some of them using Nubia. So let's discuss briefly why the term Nubia is inappropriate when used to the period prior to the 550 AD. And these are the 3 eminent scholars criticized the inappropriate usage of this adjective. One of them is Elias Smith and B.S. Ellison and Bruce Tyrrell. They were in agreement that the term should not be used to describe the regions, culture, inhabitants prior to 550 AD. Let me quote, and I'm taking a quote from Mr. Smith. We are not justified in calling both the early and late inhabitants of Nubians. In fact, it's very doubtful whether we ought to apply the name pre-Hellenic population in the Nile Valley between Aswan and Merowe. And that's a direct quotation. Let me quote also from Hellison here. In speaking of the early history of the country, the name Nubia is misleading, as there is no evidence of its use in ancient Egypt as a tribal or geographical name. My third quote is coming from Mr. Trigger. Trigger said, to use the term Nubian to denote the people of Nubia during the Nabatean period is therefore potentially misleading. And let me again quote from Mr. Trigger again in a different quotation. In the long run, current, similarly, reasonable terminological usages may obscure important issues to create needless problem for future researchers. And that's exactly what happened right now. And he predicted the future. Okay, so right now let's discuss briefly as the confusing mind of scholars. Why do we care about the terminology itself? Trigger, however, did not criticize those who were responsible for the confusion, such as James Bristed, which is the author of the most famous book, Ancient Records of Egypt. Wallace Budge, he is the author of the Annals of the Nubian Kings. Let's go a little bit further, where the dilemma and the confusion is coming from. The dilemma is coming from a wide range of readers have been confused, and researchers are the most effective. Many of them are unable to distinguish between the two terms, Kushite and Nubian. And I would like to mention this one more time. We're not speaking racially. We're only talking about terms, historical facts. The third one, many researchers think that ethnic Nubians were in Nubia since the Old Kingdom era, and that might be possible. That might be possible, but the name did not exist back then. This happened due to the translation of the Egyptian word Nahasi to Nubia. Oh, but that's a problem. When you translate an inscription wrongly, and you call it Nubian, and it's, back then it was inscribed differently. Now you're describing the wrong people. It's the same region, wrong people. Historical facts. We're talking about specific time, the time that James Bristed translated those transcriptions. The Annals of the Nubian Kings play a great role in confusing scholars and researchers, although it deals with inscription of the Kushite kings. I mean, that's very clear. They say they were Kushites. Pai, Tanutamani, Espalta, Harisotip, and Astastan. Nevertheless, Budge insisted to use the term Nubian, Nubian for those Kushite kings. The other dilemma that existed in a social schism, the present tribal composition of Nubian themselves. There's a Nubia, the mountain Nubia, hill Nubia we call them. There's a Nile Nubia, the Nile Nubia, there's Nubia in Aswan, north of Aswan, there is south of Aswan, there's Mahasi, there's Dumbulawi. I mean, there's itself, the term is confusing more and more the scholars. We're still not talking about racially, and this presentation has nothing to talk about Nubians as a race. We're talking about historical facts, about terminologies, just the terms. The building of Aswan High there, this brought the Nubians focus to the international interest, which the rescue mission by the UNESCO was called Nubia Rescue. And that's when the term started to populate and propagate and go through all the books. Instead of using the proper term, scholars started using the term Nubia. The salvage of those campaigns made the world believe the heritage of Nubia belonged to the ancestors of modern day Nubians. And that may be possible. I'm not denying that. But the name itself did not exist back then. And that's common. I mean, it's common for the great nation to adopt different heritage, to adopt different languages, to adopt different terminology and name for themselves. There's a lot of tribes right now in Sudan. They didn't exist 200-300 years ago. They didn't come out of nowhere. They converted, they adopted, they become stronger and stronger, name changes. Nubia, Corridor of Africa, that's a very famous book by Mr. Adams. It's also enhanced this belief. Therefore, appeared many new trends among Nubians, and unfortunate situation developing a social superiority. And I'll see some of them already here. And that's just unfortunate. Just to mix history with politics. I mean, history is history. Talk about it as history. Terms is correct. And these are some of the suggestions by Professor Samia Dafa'alla, how we can correct this problem. And this goes for you scholars here in this room and everywhere around the world. I mean, if you talk about the A group people, let's call them A group people, as well as for the C group people. For the Karman, call them Karmans, I mean. Just pre-Karman, that's not sufficient. When it comes to the time of the New Kingdom of occupation, call them natives. The Nabateans or Kushites, as they describe themselves in their inscriptions. They call themselves Kushites. Call them Kushites. If I'm Sudanese, I'm calling myself Sudanese, call me Sudanese, don't call me Indian. Same it is, just the way it is. Meroitic, call them Meroites, or Kushites. When it comes to the X group or post-Meroid, call them X group or post-Meroites. And there is a note here, Professor Samia really put it in, it's well said. It suggested that after having called each of the 7 groups with its specific name, writers can interchange the specific name with the name Sudanese to emphasize the Sudanese identity.
I'm sorry, how is the Sudanese identity essentially different from Nubian identity or anything? I don't understand why.
Maybe you don't understand because you're not Sudanese.
Oh,
Maybe you can finish your paper and try to keep.
But he said it's an interactive. He said it's an interactive.
Yeah.
And the Nubian and
Can you give us an example?
all the Nubians.
In 2 minutes to finish this paper and we'll think about it. Okay?
All the Sudanese are
Because I think there will be a lot of discussion. And we'll have only 5 minutes. But please keep on.
Sure. Yeah, I will answer your question. I mean, you're talking about the identity of the specific people, then you have to refer to the people and ask them, well, how do you identify yourself? Sudanese people identify themselves as Sudanese, and that's enough said. Thirdly, the term Sudan and Sudanese, and this might answer your question right now, should be used in all, and this is suggested. I mean, we're not forcing anybody to write what we want them to write. This is suggested in all the books to write the titles when they write the general history of the region, use the term Sudanese. Sudanese should be interchangeable term used for a specific group name and emphasize the Sudanese identity. We're in the 21st century. We need to be called Sudanese, we are Sudanese. The name Sudan is being increasingly used in the middle years of the 20th century, and I'm going to give you an example here of a lot of books using the term Sudanese, and there are some big names. I could use this term back in 1961. We're talking about, what, 60 years ago, nearly? Hamza, Shini, I mean, all this big wealth beast using it right now, 2004. Samia Dafa'alla herself, she's promoting the name to be used as Sudanese. We appreciate all the hard work you guys put in as scholars, international scholars, and every Sudanese, everyone among us, really appreciate the hard work you put in revealing and prevailing the Sudanese history. But when it comes to the identity, that's something that belongs to us. We identify ourselves, not somebody else. All right, here we go. Time for your questions.
Okay. Thank you. No, I understand why they asked me to share. It was a trap. So, one after the other. So first, the Egyptian, of course, is protesting against the use of Sudanese, I suppose.
I'm not Nubian. Nubian.
Yeah, but you are from Kunus?
No, I am from Wadi Halfa.
Ah.
I was kicked out first culturally, second politically when the Arabist Islamists took the country. Now let me just read for you one technical text. The Kushites, and that is the name which really go for that country because Sudan never existed. It was the Arabs and the Turks called it the place of the black Habib. That's it. The Kushites are the Nilo-Saharan people who contributed the binary world view to the ancient Afro-Asiatic world. They include red, black, and brown Nubians, pre-dynastic Lower Nilotes, and Anu. Among them were Abraham's heroic ancestors who descended from Cush, not otherwise, okay? And the garrison of the great Proto-Saharan ruler Nuh. And we call all our kids Nuh. My son is name is Nuh because he is the son of Cush. So this is deeply in our blood. Second, the 3 religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, in the songs of my grandmothers when we were kids, they don't have a differentiation between the 3. They were all one link. See, and Moses is a Nubian called by the Nubians Nabra and Nabra is his mom. because the Nubians named their children by their mothers.
So you would, because
So the point is that actually most of the Sudan, either see the part, what she mentioned, maybe from Sinnar to Bayel to Cairo, and Egypt never existed. It was.
So you would.
This is Nubia.
You would prefer the word Kush?
Kush, yes.
In general.
Kush.
Okay.
And Kush is not the Kush now being preached by the Islamists in Sudan. They say Kush was an Arab.
Yeah,
Funny
yeah.
joke.
Even South Sudan
Funny
wanted
joke.
to be called Kush at the
Yes,
very
your
beginning.
brother
They say Sudanese in the north didn't don't think they are Arabs, so we will be Kushites.
And you've seen the UNESCO study, you've seen the UNESCO study of many volumes which came out and launched in 2015. They did an exhaustive study of the African history by the Africans. And they found that Africans are, you see, the Kush is African. It's not Arab, it's not Asian.
So I think we perfectly agree, but I must leave other people speak. Yes, please?
Just to note that there is in the history two Sudan. There was a French Sudan and the English Sudan, and so Sudan is also double meaning as Ethiopian. There is modern Ethiopia and the Ethiopia of the Great.
What is it in
Shah
2018?
also is difficult.
2018, what is it right now?
When?
In 2018. We are in 2018 right
Yeah,
now.
no, it's Mali. Mali was called French
Yes,
Sudan.
Mali,
But
Central
Sudan is actually even larger from
Yeah, about
Atlantic
two
Ocean
Sudans,
to the
And I could add also, I'm a specialist of Meroitic,
Yes.
which is the language of Meroe, but it was spoken somewhere else. Why is it called Meroitic? It was, I think the first was, I think already that's just used this term, because it was not possible to say Cushitic,
Yes.
because Cushitic has been stolen by those that working on Somali, etc. Ethiopia has been stolen by the Abyssinia. So Sudan has been deprived of all its name little and little.
Yes. Black people.
And that's, guys, let me mention something real quick. That's the problem right now. Everybody's trying to rob us from our history. Linguistically, we're talking about Kushite, we're talking about the Horn of Africa. No, it's Sudan, it's Sudan. It's our history, and we right now, I'm
But
here to
Sudan
present it.
means black people.
We are black
Sudan.
people. I'm black.
Yes, but it's all black people are
But
Sudan.
I'm very confused because like you're the presenter of a paper of Samia, so like I find it very difficult to argue with you because you're not.
No, you could argue with me. I'm here presenting her.
You're representing her.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, he has been
Well, in that
representing us
case,
in a
can
very
you-
personal
can
way.
you- I mean, obviously, things get very confused at the moment that you bring in current cultural politics into what is indeed a very diverse scientific nomenclature, but I don't think anybody of us is confused about the objects or languages that we discuss when we do our research. I don't think there's any confusion at all. There's just a variety of terms that indeed are sometimes fuzzy in the way they're used, like all of language, in fact.
Yes.
And imposing a single term for a single object that so-called would be delineated in a very precise way, this is a mirage. It does not exist, and it never works this way, because we're talking about language, and language is messy. Language is confusing. And this is how it is. We learn us to communicate by means of our ideas, by means of the objects we find, by means of the languages we study, and not by fighting about this ridiculous terminology.
No, let me say something real quick. I'm sorry. This call is very clear. It's the call to call everything before 550 Kushite. After 550, call Nubian. Yeah, as simple as that. No politics, nothing in history.
Even after 550, we can discuss whether there's going to be another many people
That's your own
living in that
choice.
region.
That's your choice. That's wrong.
What do you mean?
That's Scientifically,
they're
it's wrong.
living
And we are here to correct that. We are here to get our history back, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, then I
All
think
right, well, why don't you have fun with your history?
Will you stay here and have fun?
You know,
there are some other reactions.
If you don't like it, don't sit down. I'm making it loud here.
Please,
If
so
you don't like it, don't come sit down.
Okay.
May I add something? If
Yeah.
I remember correctly, it is an inscription at Filet that says it's written by a person
not Abratoye, but it's Nuba. It's Ego.
As a Nubian, and it is around 10th century. He identifies himself as a Nubian, so.
But he wasn't in power. He was not a Kushite. He was not a Kushite. Yeah. Yeah. So what? If you're French in America and calls up the French, so what? It just doesn't make sense. I mean, this is my last message for this.
We will not be able to speak for the rest of the day. So I can still take one question, and I think after you have to arrange this discussion around the cafeteria as you want. Really the last of the last reaction, please. Not too long.
I come from a small village called Sept in Wadi Halfa. I consider myself a Nubian. I speak Nubian. Throughout my ancestry, we like to be called Nubians. We speak Nubian language, whether the ancestry is Kush or Warat or any. But today, we like to be called Nubians. And we insist to be called Nubians. And we insist to speak Nubian. And because of this, instead of this argument, take the point of view of the people of Nubia. We want to be called Nubians.
Yeah, but
that's fine.
Mahassin don't want to be called Nubians, they want to be called Mahassin.
Do you know that? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
He's specialist.
Yeah, I'm living there most of the time, most of the season. Yeah, okay. This is a discussion you can still be prolongated outside. For now, I would like the next paper to go the next paper, which is art of decoration. The person is here. So her name is Tasneem Hamad.